I'm at the Graves Mill entrance to Shenandoah National Park. There's a little parking area here. That's the trailhead to Graves Mill. And over there is the Rapidan River. I'll show you more of that once we get on the trail. The elevation here is about 970 feet. Got a lot of elevation to climb today, so here we go. The first part of this trail, Graves Mill Trail, runs next to the Rapidan River. There's the Rapidan River. Here's a little peek at the Rapidan River. I jumped off the trail on a little side path I saw. Here's the turnoff to go up the side of the mountain. I'm going to come back here because this is our trail going to the left. But I'm going to go down here a couple more hundred yards straight ahead so I can show you where the Staunton River and the Rapidan come together. It's right down here just a little ways. That's the Staunton River coming down the side of the mountain. And here's where it joins up with the Rapidan. There's the Staunton. And up that way is the Rapidan. That's just part of the Rapidan. It's got a fork in it here. There's part of the Rapidan. Here's where the Staunton and Rapidan combine. Over there's another piece of the Rapidan, and it all comes together over there. And for now, I'm going to head back this way and backtrack to the concrete signpost so I can head up the side of the mountain. Okay, I backtracked to the turnoff. This is the turnoff to the Staunton River Trail. I went past this a little ways so I could show you where the Staunton River and the Rapidan come together. But now for the main part of the hike, I'm going to turn left and we're going to follow the Staunton River Trail up the side of the mountain for quite a ways. So here we go. Staunton River. That's a gauging station. I'm 1.4 miles into the hike now, and I'm up to a little over 1,200 feet elevation. And this part of the trail, as you can see, is an old road. I'm 3 miles into my hike now, and I'm up to 1,800 feet elevation. Here's what the Staunton River looks like at this elevation. I'm 3.2 miles into my hike now, and here's where the trail splits. The road keeps going straight that way. We're going to go left up this really steep trail. The next mile, this is Jones Mountain Trail off to the left. This is a really steep trail. But this gets us up to the summit, to an observation point that's called Bear Church Rock. There's also a cabin up here that you can rent out. I'm going to go straight up to the overlook first because it gets dark early these days. So we're going to go up to the overlook first, relax a little bit, see the sights, eat my lunch, and then on the way back, if I have time, I'll take you over to see the cabin. So here we go up the side of the mountain. Okay, here's where the real steep section runs back into the rest of the trail. I think it cuts about a half a mile off your hike, but you pay dearly because it's so steep. I'm 3.6 miles into my hike, almost 3.7 miles into my hike, and I'm up to 2,300 feet elevation. We're going to take a left, and there's Jones Mountain Trail continuing on up that way. And like I said earlier, up here we've got Jones Mountain Cabin and the overlook that's called Bear Church Rock. So here we go. Hopefully this section won't be quite so steep. Okay, here's the next signpost where the trail branches off. I'm 3.9 miles into the hike. The elevation here is 2,400 feet. If you go to the left, that takes you to Jones Mountain Cabin. If we have time, I'll go that way on the way back here. But we're going to go to the right up this really steep section here. For the next half a mile, it's really steep from here up to the overlook. But hey, that's what we're here for. So let's head on up to the overlook, and hopefully it'll be a clear view up there today. Okay, I finally made it up to the top. This is Bear Church Rock Overlook. It's a beautiful clear day up here today. The temperature is almost 70 degrees. I lucked out. I'm 4.5 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 2860. Here's a pan. The neighboring mountains. The actual summit of Jones Mountain, this mountain we're on, is actually up there, but I don't think there's a trail that goes up there. There's the trail that brings you up here. My trekking pole's there against that tree. Beautiful day up here. I'm going to get all my gear off and eat some lunch. It's, let's see, what time is it? About 11:45. Here's one more pan up here from Bear Church Rock Overlook. Over here to the left is Jones Mountain. That peak there in the middle of the camera is the excuse me, summit of Jones Mountain. This next mountain over here is Fork Mountain. And in the canyon coming down through between the two of them down here is the Staunton River. And it heads down that way where it runs into the Rapidan. Very nice day up here today. Hardly any wind at all, and it's about 70 degrees. Not too many more days like this left this season. Way up here on top of this mountain is that little hole in the rock, and it's full of water, rainwater. And the birds are coming up here and drinking out of it and bathing in it. I tried to get a video of one. I'll include it in the YouTube video if it turns out okay, but the birds are coming up here and visiting this thing. So that's an important little resource for them way up high here, because it's a long ways down from here to the river. Okay, I'm back down off the peak of the mountain, back to this split in the trail. We're going to go, it's only 1 o'clock, so we've got time to go see Jones Mountain Cabin. I'm 5.1 miles into the hike, and I'm down to 2,400 feet elevation. So let's take that left fork in the road and see if we can find the cabin. I'm not at the cabin yet, but I saw this little side trail, so I followed it. And this is a nice little camping area up here. That sign says no campfires, but it doesn't say no camping, so you can camp up here if you want. There's no fires allowed anywhere in the park, but I guess some people have built fires up here, so Park Service came up here and stuck that sign on the ground. This campsite here is close to the cabin, probably no more than 1/10 of a mile. And I know there's a spring there at the cabin. So you could come up here with minimal water and just hike over to the cabin and replenish your water supply, even though this is up pretty high. I'm 5.4 miles into my hike, and the elevation here is 2230. Let me do a 360 pan so you can see what this place looks like. Those are some of the mountains that are nearby. This area up here is fairly flat. There's lots of trees. That spot right there is cleared out, flat, and that's pretty flat. That'd be good for a tent. With all these trees up here, though, you could hang a hammock just about anywhere you wanted to. Nice little camping area. It's a pretty good hike up here, though, with a full pack. There's Jones Mountain Cabin. It's, I'd say, less than 1/10 of a mile down the hill from that camping spot I just showed you. Let's see, I am about 5.5 miles into my hike now. The elevation here is 2150. There's the cabin. Over there is the outhouse. Down there's an ash pit. And over here's the spring. You know, we come over here, you can take a look at the spring. Got a nice flow going, and it's got a pipe there, so it's easy to fill up your water bottles or cook pots or whatever. Very nice. Back to the cabin. You can rent that cabin from the Potomac Appalachian Trail Club. I might look into it and see about renting it for a night. It's a pretty long hike up here, though, with a full pack, but hey, that's what we do. There's the outhouse. It's one of the old pit style outhouses. A lot of them here in the park, they've converted them to a composting type privy. But that's one of the old style right there. Here's a view from the porch of the cabin. That's looking over towards the spring. There's the front yard, if you want to call it that. Over there is the outhouse. Around the side of the cabin there is the trail that comes down here. And up there on that hill is that camping area. Here's the entrance to the place. It's all locked up, of course. Nice little bench for me to sit on for a few minutes. back around to the spring. I'm 5.7 miles into my hike now, and I'm still climbing the mountain. I'm on the trail that takes you down the mountain a little ways to that cabin. So I'm still climbing that, but I happened to see this little rock outcropping, so I decided to come out here and take a couple of pictures from here. The elevation here is 2340. It's a pretty steep drop off from this rock here that I'm standing on. And then over there, back there's the trail. Nice view from here. Okay, I'm back to where the trail that goes up to Bear Church Rock Overlook and the trail that goes to the cabin come back together at this point. I'm 5.9 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 2370. This is from here on down, which is this way, it's almost entirely downhill. I think it's about 5 miles from here to the bottom where my car's parked, but it's almost all downhill, so here we go. Okay, I'm back down to the Staunton River. That's the Staunton River Trail down there, that road. I'm 6.6 miles into my hike, and I'm down to an elevation of 1890. So for the next few miles, we're going to follow the Staunton River downstream. I'm finally back down to where the Staunton River runs into the Rapidan. That's the trail I just came down on. I'm 8.8 miles into my hike, and I'm down to 980 feet elevation. And right over there's the Rapidan River. So from this point, I'm just going to follow this trail and follow the Rapidan downstream until I get to my car. I think it's about a half a mile. This is the map that I used for the hike. It's two maps combined. The right side of the map is Madison Quadrangle, and the left side is Fletcher Quadrangle. To get into the park, you park right here at the park boundary at the end of Graves Mill Road. This is the Rapidan River up to here, and then the Rapidan continues on up this way. Right here is where the Staunton River runs into the Rapidan. So you hike from the park boundary where you park your car up to this point, and then you take a left on the Staunton River Trail and you follow the Staunton River upstream for several miles, way up here to this point. When you get to here, the Staunton River Trail continues to follow the Staunton River, but you take a left and you head straight up the side of the mountain on this little connector trail to here. Then you pick another trail up and you come up to here. Now here's where the branch point is. If you go to the left, you go to the cabin. The cabin's over here. If you go to the right, you come up probably the steepest part of the entire hike up here to Bear Church Rock. So that's the hike.